What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Criminal Minds Evolution, Season 1, Episode 9, Memento Mori. So pretty interesting episode to kind of set up for the ending of it. Everything to do with Elias is still very much interesting. It's caught my attention. I just cannot stop watching. I had to stop watching, unfortunately, so it has been a minute since I've seen this show previously. But, I mean, everything with this is just so well done and so well set up to really just get the blood flowing a bit. You get excited, you want to see more, you want to see what's going to happen in the end with him. So really enjoying that. What's not as interesting, unfortunately, is still anything to do with the outside stuff. It's very hit or miss, because the Rossi stuff in this episode is actually really good, and it plays in really well with what he's going through, why he's maybe not quite on top of things as he normally would be. Why he is able to be captured at this point, because he is in a rough place. After everything that happened with his wife dying and all that, he's not on top of his game. You could see this has become an obsession for him, and it's something where he's not quite thinking clearly, and he is letting himself get beat by this guy who is also very intelligent, but somebody who is getting to him a little bit. He is letting him get under his skin. So I think it's nice to see that sometimes it does play itself into the story really well. I mean, honestly, everything to do with the side stuff and all of the characters and what they're going through personally, all of it has somehow played into the main story. Just sometimes the stories themselves can be interesting and sometimes they can be kind of stupid. Like the stuff with Garcia and Tyler is still so stupid. And the fact that it's being played more for laughs now is just, it's very annoying. Because first of all, I mean, again, it's a relationship. As I've said before, it started with them bickering and now all of a sudden they're in love. And it just, no. Like, I hate any time a relationship starts that way in a show because it feels like they do it all the time. And it's just not realistic. If you're constantly bickering with somebody, it's not going to turn into attraction most of the time. Like maybe very rarely in real life it does. But most of the time, if you're constantly bickering before you're dating, you're going to be constantly bickering when you're dating, and it's just not going to work out because of that. So that whole start to the relationship was annoying. And now, because there are legal ramifications and the whole case could hinge on him being the star witness, but he's going to be compromised because he's sleeping with one of the BAU. So it's really weird to me that they're playing this off as a laugh. They're trying to make it be like, oh, she's talking to Luke now, and she's sitting there, she's like, oh, he's so good in bed. Oh my gosh, he's so amazing. You could take some tips from, like, all of that stuff. It's dumb. And I'm just sitting there going, why are we spending time on this? The only good thing that came out of this is we did see, because I had totally forgotten about this until they brought it up in this episode. And I even went back to watch my review of the final episode of the original series to see if this was something that I'd even talked about. But yeah, Luke had asked her on a date at the end, and I'd forgotten about it. But that was stupid of them. And I'm kind of glad that it just took one scene in this episode to just point out why that was stupid, because they don't work as a couple. They really don't. So that was the only thing with Garcia in this episode that I thought was good. Everything else, it's not well done. This is not a couple that is going to work. And again, the ramifications it could have on the case could be extremely consequential. We do see a little bit more of Tara and Rebecca, which still kind of pisses me off because Tara's sitting there talking to her. I just want to make amends to you for everything that happened. And all I could think is, you don't need to make amends. You did your job. Like, yes, not telling her may have been a little hurtful to her, but in the end, she is responsible for everything that happened. So they just brought it back up and had her apologize and all that stuff. And of course, it doesn't matter because Rebecca's talking about moving anyway, which I'm assuming she's not going to. You've got her and Rebecca got introduced as a couple, and now Garcia and Tyler got introduced as a couple. I don't feel like they would bring these relationships up and then just have them end in the same season. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I get the feeling that Rebecca's going to be like, no, actually, I'm going to stay here because of you. And it's just going to be all this, oh, it's just so cute. No, it's not. Because Rebecca's a terrible person, and we've seen that. She proved herself to be a terrible person whenever Tara pointed out a mistake she made, and she blamed Tara for it. That is not a normal reaction from anybody. So I don't want them to work out. I want Tara to move on because I don't like Rebecca. End of the story. So it was nice to see Rebecca kind of stand up for the team at one point, but then of course, whenever things go bad, she's instantly back on the whole, oh no, we need to protect ourselves here. It's stupid. But I will say, that is one thing that they did manage to utilize well in this episode, is the governmental pressure that the team has been feeling all season. I've talked about before how I didn't feel like a ticking clock was something the team really needed. It's down to, you want to stop the guy, not because, oh, if we don't, we'll lose our jobs. It's because he's killing people, and you want to save people, and that should be the reason why you're working so hard to get this done. But with the whole 48 hours instruction from, I've forgotten her position again. I think it was Secretary of Defense? No, I don't know. I'll try to remember in the next episode. But for her whole 48 hours thing did put pressure on the team to make this quick, to try to track down Elias and get him to answer questions and get to Sydney and all that. And that forced them to make some mistakes because they had this ticking clock, which of course is then stupid whenever the lady comes back and says, this is your team's fault. You're the one that put pressure on them to get this done quickly, which means they had to do things not in the normal frame of mind that they would be doing it. So that whole scene, I mean, it made sense now why Rossi had to sort of rush himself and get himself in trouble in all of this, because I feel like they would have taken their time, and if Rossi was starting to feel himself get a little bit more like gung-ho about it, I think Prentice would have been more so willing to take him off the case and be like, we need to get somebody out there who has a fresh frame of mind on this. But because they didn't have that time, Prentice has to trust Rossi to go out there. Rossi's got to push it a little bit more, which then leads him to some trouble. And now all of a sudden he's losing his badge. He knows this, and that kind of pushes him to the point of, I've got nothing else to lose. I need to go in there and I need to stop this guy. So there is that, at least. It still does make, everybody that is pressuring the team, it makes them all look like idiots, which, to be fair, I mean, I can't say that talking about these government officials as if they're idiots is not necessarily untrue, especially compared to real life, but it does still add a bit of frustration, though, from the audience's point of view, to see the team being forced to do stuff incorrectly and then getting blamed because they were forced to do this incorrectly because of that pressure. That, to me, it adds a level of ignorance that is really frustrating and makes me want to find the character and punch her in the face. And it's one of those, if I ever saw her in real life, if I saw the actress, it's the similar effect to, like, if I ever met the woman who played Umbridge from Harry Potter. I'm sure the lady is very lovely, very nice person, but if I ever met the actress, I don't know if I could talk to her, because Umbridge would just be fresh in my mind, and I'm sorry, you played that part way too well. So while I can't say that it's unrealistic for her to act this way and to blame the team after basically forcing them to do this and make this mistake, I can't say that's unrealistic to our real world. However, I'm not coming here to be reminded of our frustrations of the real world. I'm coming here to enjoy a show and have fun and be entertained and feel the tension. So I feel like that sort of just, especially because it's not necessarily unrealistic, it is a writing choice here. The writers chose to make this lady very combative and also very ignorant, and that just adds that level of frustration, I suppose. But anyways, outside of all of that, the stuff with Elias is very interesting to see him, as Rossi said, devolving, and it makes sense, because I remember they were showing those flashes of him thinking about hurting his family. And at the time, I was thinking they were just building up towards he was going to have a flash where he thought about hurting his family, but then he actually did. But in reality, what it's leading to is what Rossi said, where he had never had these thoughts about hurting his family before, but the fact that he did shows that he's devolving. He is reaching that point of losing the connection to this other life that he had. So I really like the setup there. I don't know what's going to happen with Rossi. I'm assuming, well, actually, I'm almost positive because I've seen some previews for season 2, and I do know a couple of the things that happen, and I know, I guess, everybody who makes it to season 2, so I'm a little spoiled on that. But yeah, I don't know exactly how it's all going to come to an end. I know it's going to be difficult, again, because it feels like the DOJ is just not at all interested in bringing this guy to justice for whatever reason. I don't know if there's going to be a purpose for it, or if it's just going to be, yeah, the government sucks, and And again, I can't say I disagree. However, I did not come to this show to be reminded of the fact that the government sucks. So, but yeah, I think that's about it for this episode. So on to the finale. See you there in a minute. And now episode 10, Dead End. It's a pretty solid ending to the season. First of all, they took the two relationships that, I mean, I obviously was not a fan of, and to be fair, they ended them pretty well. You know, because I still feel like, you know, Garcia's reaction to Tyler and him going into surgery and her reaction at the end, I'm still not a fan of it because it makes it feel like it was this really deep emotional thing when in reality, there was nothing there. You know, and I'm glad she didn't go back with him. However, her reaction still was, for me, not quite what I think they wanted this is what they wanted the audience to feel. I don't think this is how most of the audience is going to feel. I don't think people are going to look at that relationship and go, "Oh, Garcia, I feel for you, girl. He was so sweet." No, nobody's going to feel that way. It just, there's a disconnect there. The writers thought they were writing this really deep, intricate romance. And in reality, what probably most of the viewers thought was, this is a terribly shallow, bickering filled, just nothing relationship. So stop treating it like it's deep romance. And then the Tara Rebecca stuff, Rebecca ends up not confiding in her, and good, because it just shows who she is. She is not a good person. At the end of it all, she is in it for herself. Kind of. You know, there was the fact that she has to be the one to fall on the sword if everything went down bad. But I mean, she's still more focused on her job and all of that stuff rather than trying to save lives. And obviously the Attorney General, which I do remember now, that's her position. I mean, clearly she's an evil person. She's a politician who just wants to I guess get the best out of her job, and she's completely in it for herself. And I don't know exactly what Gold Star entails, but I'm assuming it's something that she is benefiting from. So I do think the whole inclusion of Gold Star was maybe a little sudden at the end. I feel like if this were something that was talked about a little bit more before the final episode, I would have been a bit more okay with the whole inclusion of, you know, Bailey trying to shut down the team and then the Attorney General trying to shut down the team. I think it would have made more sense if that connection was established earlier. But instead, they brought it up in the final episode, and that's kind of the only mention we got of it. So I don't exactly know what it's going to entail. I'm assuming it's some sort of government corruption that somehow Elias figured out about. Don't know how. Maybe he hacked into something and found the information. But yeah, I think this is the main reason why they were including this throughout the entire season, why they're including the government trying to shut down the team, is because they needed this connection and they needed something to basically have almost like a secondary antagonist for the team, you know, that they're trying to work against whatever Bailey, the Attorney General, Rebecca are talking about. So I am a little surprised. I knew Elias was going to make it to next season because, again, the previews, the trailers for season 2 did kind of spoil that for me, unfortunately. But I am pretty surprised, though, that everybody made it out okay. Like, there was a part of me, I was a little concerned for Sydney. I figured the girls would be okay. I knew Rossi. I'm pretty sure I knew Rossi, or I saw Rossi in the trailer, but there was a little slight concern for Will, especially when he got involved at the end. There was a tiny concern for it. Bailey, I was really hoping, especially whenever we got to this final episode, I didn't have any sort of sense of whether or not he was going to make it to season 2. I do know, because I've seen Coulson is in season 2, which is really funny to me just to see him there. And I don't know, all I can think is, what are we now tying into Marvel? Like, is this a Marvel universe that doesn't connect? It's not canon, but he's involved and now he's working with the FBI. I don't know. It's just funny to see him in another agent type role. But I kind of had a sense, seeing him in the trailers, that Bailey wasn't going to be around anymore and Coulson would be now the kind of the one that's overseeing the team. I know it's not Coulson, but until I hear his name and until it gets stuck, I'm just going to see him as Coulson. But because of that, there was a wonder of what was going to happen with Bailey. Whenever he first started helping the team a few episodes ago, I did have the thought that maybe he was going to fall on his sword at some point for the team and do something that helped them but lost him his job. But here at the end, whenever the Attorney General started talking to him more, whenever he started talking about this Gold Star, and there was this very clear secretive thing that they're covering up, in that moment, that's when I was kind of like, okay, he's going to die, isn't he? Because he's getting thrown into the front lines to talk to Voight. I feel like he's going to die because of this. I wasn't sure how, but it does really... It begs some questions about what Gold Star is. I mean, are we just finding out that he's a fan of Gold Star chili over Skyline chili? Because that is, I mean, it's a huge secret to keep. Nobody would want to admit to that, because who in their right mind, that's not a psychopath, who likes Gold Star chili over Skyline? Skyline is just so far above it. So maybe that's what it means. I'm not sponsored by Skyline, by the way. I just really love it. And the fact that I live in Georgia and I can't really get it readily outside of buying cans from the store is very upsetting. But I don't know. It asks a lot of questions that I think sets up pretty well for the second season. I don't exactly know how it's going to tie in, because I know based on the trailers for season 2, they're just going after another very prolific serial killer. So is it going to be somehow connected to Gold Star? I know Elias, apparently they're basically told to use him as a reference to catch this guy. I don't know why that would be. Maybe it's somebody from his network that they find out about. I'm not sure. I do feel like, though, there's a lot of good setup for season 2 that they've done in this final episode. Unfortunately, though, I feel like that is also a detriment for this final episode, because there was a lot of that. There was a lot of building up mystery about what the Attorney General is talking about. They did cut away from really, I think, what was the heart of this episode, which was, of course, tracking down Elias and trying to save Rossi. Yeah, we got our moments in this episode about that. We got our scenes with them, and the scene where Rossi manages to get his way out, Luke finding him and stuff. That was all really nice, but unfortunately, I feel like there wasn't quite enough time spent on it. I feel like there's a little bit more that could have been expanded upon. A little bit more could have been talked about with Rossi and Crystal and all of that. But it feels like we had to take time to build up what this mystery is for season 2. So maybe a little bit more time could have been spent elsewhere. But for the most part, I think this was really well done. I think it was a good finale for this first season. And it sets up for what I think has been a pretty fun revival series. I know I've seen one comment saying, the fan of the original series is not a fan of this one. I can kind of get that. I kind of understand. If you like the original series and you came in expecting more, I would kind of understand if you were disappointed to see it's not really the same. It is a different series. It's a lot darker, a lot more, I guess, serialized is the best way to put it. It's not episodic. It's not one-off episodes, and then sometimes there's like an overarching story that will make its appearance. This was very much we have one story from beginning to end. Yes, there were a couple of episodes where we wouldn't focus on something else, but it was still heavily connected to what was our main story, which was, of course, Voight and his whole system that he'd built. So I think because of that, I would understand if fans of the original series are disappointed. However, I do think if you were wanting something a little different, which I will admit I was, when I was coming into this, as much as I liked the original series, as much as I appreciated what they did with it, we had 15 seasons of it. There's plenty of Criminal Minds. If you ever want to go back and watch it from the beginning again, you'll get that type of feel of, I just want my one-off serial killer of the week. I want to explore how their minds work. I want to explore the psychology of it. I want to see this team catch them. If you want that, you can go back and watch the original series and have plenty of episodes to watch to get that feeling again. However, I feel like if they came back in and tried to do that same formula, it would get a little boring. It would get a little repetitive, because I've been watching NCIS now for 19 seasons. I'm about to watch season 20, is hopefully somewhat soon. I don't know. But they've done basically the same thing since the first season. I'm kind of getting bored with it. It feels like they don't really have any new ideas. And because of that, I feel like I'm losing my interest in seeing more. I'll do it because I'm watching it for the channel, and it's something I've been doing for a while now. So I might as well keep watching and see what else they decide to do with it. Now, I will admit the addition of new team members, like when they brought Gary Cole's character, Parker, when they brought Parker onto the team, it did add a new element to the team that changed things up a bit. And it's not feeling the same at the moment. And because of that, it does add a little bit of newness. And I feel like this is what Evolution was. It's still the same team, but they've added a new element to it now that makes it feel new and makes it feel fresh. And I think, again, it may just be preference, but personally, I'm glad that I still get to see this team. I still get to see these characters, but there's this freshness to it because now the formula has changed a bit. Now the show itself has changed and it's a new series with a new idea behind it. And I like that. It's still got a lot of the same psychological components. It's still got a lot of the same elements of, following serial killers. And if you like that sort of mindset and trying to understand how people could possibly even be like this, if you want to explore it from that point of view, I think it's still got a lot of that base stuff. It's just not quite the same as it was originally. And I think, change is necessary. That's my own personal opinion on it. So all in all, it was a very good first season. Did it have its hiccups? Yes. A lot of the personal stuff is really where the show fell apart. It did feel like there was I would say almost a younger mindset coming from it, because a lot of this felt very young adult teenage drama-ish as far as the relationships they were building and how they handled some of them. So there were hiccups, there were parts of it that I did not enjoy. However, my overall thoughts on this series, I think it's a very fun new start for this. It's a new start, it's a fresh start, it's something that's different but still feels familiar. I think overall it's a good series, and I'm excited to see what they do with season 2. That's just my own opinions, though. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts in this first season? Let me know. We could talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Criminal Minds Evolution reviews. And until next season, I hope you guys have a great day. And I'll talk to you all later. Peace out.